Tesla Model Y has been the best-selling vehicle in the world multiple times. People love its performance, its practicality, its range, and I do think the Model Y is excellent. But I think people are sleeping on the Model 3. Let's talk about how practical the Model 3 actually is. I'm going to give you 7 reasons why I think the Model 3 is more practical than the Model Y for most people. Number 1. Better efficiency and lower energy use. This one's pretty self-explanatory. The Model 3 is a much lighter vehicle than the Model Y. It's got a different profile, it's more aerodynamic, so all of those things are going to factor into the Model 3 being more energy efficient than the Model Y. That's just kind of how physics work. And we see this across almost every single trim level of the Model 3 versus the Model Y. You're going to get higher projected range numbers almost across the board. But that lower drag, the smaller overall size, all of those things are going to contribute to a higher range number, more miles, less stops, less range anxiety overall with the same battery. I live in Louisville, Kentucky, and pretty much the entire city is like 20 minutes away on either side, but not having to cut into as much of my battery as I would if I owned a Model Y is a nice improvement and makes it more practical for me. Number 2, lower purchase price and therefore better value. Even though the tax credit is gone, Teslas are some of the most affordable electric vehicles you can buy. The way they have the Model 3 lineup broken down now, the cheapest one you can get now is the standard rear-wheel drive, and that one starts at $36,990. If you want to get the standard rear-wheel drive Model Y, that's going to start at $39,990. So it's about a $3,000 difference any way you slice it, and that same kind of gap goes up the trim lineup. If you want to get the premium rear-wheel drive, $42,000, about $45,000 for the Model Y, and so on and so forth. So no matter how you slice it, you're going to be getting a cheaper initial starting price. We'll talk about some of the practical things that you'll miss out on getting the Model 3 versus the Model Y, but in general, you're getting the same package with the same technology and the same features for a cheaper price. And there's other financial factors that go into it besides just the initial purchase price. Heavier vehicles tend to chew through tires faster. You can see higher insurance premiums on larger vehicles like SUVs versus sedans. So the better efficiency and the lower purchase price go into an overall lower cost of ownership. I don't know about you all, but I love keeping my Tesla as clean as possible. But as we work our way through these dark and dreary fall and winter months, that task can become very difficult. Between rain, snow, mud, and daily use, Tesla's stock carpet mats get dirty fast. That's why I switched to channel sponsor 3W Floor Mats. They provide custom fit liners made with their exclusive Thorax material and Vigor mold technology. They're designed specifically for Tesla models like the Model 3, the Model Y, the Model S, the Model X, and the Cybertruck, plus other EV models. These mats fit perfectly. Every curve, every contour, laser scanned for a seamless fit. The raised edges keep dust and spills from sneaking underneath, and cleaning them, it just takes seconds. I've tracked dirt, dust, mud, and even spilled coffee, and all it takes to clean them is a quick rinse and then a wipe down with a dry cloth, and they look brand new again. Plus, 3W's exclusive Thorax material means that there are no strong chemical smells, which is safer for you, and most importantly, safer for your pets. So if you want to protect your Tesla and keep it looking showroom ready, now is the perfect time because Black Friday is officially on. Just click the link below and use code METZTECHBF to get 35% off on 3W's official website or $45 off on Amazon. All right, number 3 is very important to me and is one of the main reasons why I went with the Model 3 versus the Model Y, and that is the better driving feel. The Model 3 is obviously lower to the ground, it's more dynamic, you feel more connected to the road, the handling is better, the cornering is better, the acceleration in almost every case is better. It's just more agile. There's never been a time of owning a Model 3 where I haven't felt super grounded and connected to the road. I've never felt like I've been sliding around or anything like that. And that's when I had a standard range rear-wheel drive Model 3 and my performance all-wheel drive. It's such a grounded driving experience. If you're choosing between the Model 3 and the Model Y, I highly recommend going and test driving both. You may still come to the conclusion that the Model Y has just more creature comforts that you prefer, and that's fine. But I have a hard time thinking that you walk away from test driving both of those vehicles back to back and thinking that the Model 3 is not the better driving experience. Go out and do it. You know, the Model Y is an SUV, so it's got utility in the name. It's a sport utility vehicle, so it's going to have some of the more practical elements to it, but the Model 3 still has a lot of the practical elements that the Model Y has. So instead of having to have kind of two separate cars, like a more utilitarian vehicle for practical uses and then a fun car, the Model 3 kind of combines those two things, where it has elements of the Model Y's practicality, but the better driving feel. So it's kind of just an overall more comprehensive package. And if you can make some of the sacrifices that are required to drive a sedan versus an SUV, I think the Model 3 is just far more practical and far more fun. All right, for number 4, it's just the overall size. Now, this one may not matter to some people. They may not care about having a larger vehicle. In fact, well, you may want a larger vehicle, and that's totally fine. But for me personally, I've always had smaller vehicles. Ironically enough, I learned how to drive on a 15-passenger Chevy van. So I'm very familiar with driving large vehicles. I drive large trucks for work. Like, it's not a big deal to me. But I like to get in and get out as quickly and efficiently as possible. And there's no better way to do that than by having a smaller, nimble vehicle that you can easily place on the road, and you can get in and out of parking lots very easily. Now, Tesla does make it easy in general by having the cameras all the way around the vehicle. They make parking a breeze. You can use auto park if you're uncomfortable. There's tons of ways that they compensate for, different size vehicles. Cybertruck has it too. But for me personally, the Model 3, it's so zippy, it's so nimble, you can park in any parking spot, you don't have to worry about size. It just hits that sweet spot for me in being practical and being nimble. All right, in the same vein as number 4, let's talk number 5, which is less compromises if you do not need SUV dimensions. And again, this is entirely going to depend on your situation. You have to make the choice for yourself. But I would say the vast majority of users do not need the SUV size. And that's just in general, not just between EVs or Model 3 and Model Y. In general, SUVs are the most popular vehicles on the market. How often, really, do you use every single square inch of your SUV? Now, if you have a large family and you gotta transport kids back and forth, sporting equipment back and forth and all that kind of stuff, by all means, get a Model Y or get something larger because you probably need it. But most people, they don't need all of this space. And what ends up happening is you end up paying to have all that space, with the running costs, as we've already discussed, and with the battery drain. Whether you fill that 33 cubic foot trunk or not, it's still occupying that much space, which is going to impact your battery. So unless you use that amount of space most of the time, or a large percentage of the time, you just may not need it. And I don't want to make it seem like the Model 3 can't do some of the things that the Model Y can do. Just because it doesn't have a hatchback trunk, it's got the saloon style trunk, doesn't mean you can't fit quite a bit into that cargo area. Car and Driver has it stated that they can fit 15 suitcases in there. I don't have 15 suitcases, but what I can tell you is I was able to fit as many, if not a few more, full-size mulch bags in the back of my standard range Model 3 when I owned that a few years ago, the same amount that I could fit in my wife's Crosstrek, which is a small crossover. So while the Model Y's cubic foot storage area is definitely larger than the Model 3's, I would encourage you to actually check it out for yourself, because I almost guarantee you could fit most of what you need in the Model 3's trunk, or the 3.1 cubic foot frunk that the Model 3 has. But for me, my standard camera gear for shooting videos, or my 3 wiener dogs, me and my siblings or whatever, we can fit just fine in the Model 3, and it's more than practical for 90% of regular daily use. All right, for number 6, let's talk about charging. So we talked a little bit about that excess battery drain that you're gonna be using if you're driving around a larger vehicle without really needing that kind of space, and that is gonna impact your charging. Inherently, as we've discussed, the Model 3 is going to use less of your battery pack for regular daily use than the Model Y is. Therefore, in theory, you shouldn't have to charge your Model 3 as much as you charge the Model Y, right? Even though they have the same size battery pack. And while the differences in EPA estimated range aren't super different between the Model 3 and the Model Y, let's just use the premium all-wheel drive, for example. The EPA estimated range for the Model Y is 327 miles of range, whereas the Model 3 is 346. So 19-mile difference, right? But when you apply that to the real world, it does make a difference. In some cases, depending on your commute, that could be an entire extra day of not having to charge. And if you just take the battery packs, let's say it's 80 kilowatt battery pack, right, for both the Model 3 and the Model Y, you charge the same amount of time, 7 or 8 hours. The money you're spending charging is going to more real world miles on the Model 3 than the Model Y. So it's just costing you less money and being more efficient. So it may just be a little more peace of mind. You don't have to worry as much about charging or overall range anxiety if you choose the Model 3 over the Model Y in most cases. And then finally for number 7, we just had to come back outside and just look at her. I mean, that's the biggest reason why I think you should pick the Model 3 over the Model Y, is it just looks better, almost across the board. I'm so glad that I went with a performance Model 3 over the Performance Model Y. Now, I don't think they look bad necessarily, but the difference, I think, between how good the Model 3 looks versus the Model Y really just sets it a whole tier above, in my opinion. Got the redesigned front fascia with the little accent pieces and the warp wheels, which I think look fantastic. Obviously, this ultra red color is absolutely gorgeous, and I'm so glad I went with it. And with the tint, just looks perfect. But even having that carbon fiber spoiler in the back with the more aggressive diffuser at the bottom, everything about it, the shape overall of the Model 3 is just far superior, in my opinion, to the Model Y. Now again, completely personal preference. You guys may like the look of the Model Y better, and that's totally fine. I just think for me, the Model 3 is the best looking Tesla you can buy. So that means for me, it's the most affordable, the best looking, and has the best overall range. I just don't think you can beat that combo, especially because you're not losing out on any technology or features. You just have slightly less space. So you're gonna see all over the internet that the Model Y is more practical than the Model 3 just because it's an SUV. But I hope this video has helped you guys maybe see things from a different perspective, and maybe the Model 3 is the better choice for you and more practical for you. Cheaper initial costs and running costs, less energy per mile, more range per dollar, easier to park and maneuver, better handling and confidence, more fun to drive, faster range recovery when charging. And again, for most people, the cargo capacity and passenger volume of the Model 3 is going to be perfectly sufficient. Again, I can't speak to your situation. Maybe the Model Y just is more practical even after all of those things. Maybe you need all that cargo capacity. Maybe you need all that passenger volume. You like that extra legroom, whatever the case may be. You like to ride a little higher when driving. All that's fine. Go get a Model Y. You're going to love it. But I think there's a large sector of people that could be just fine with the Model 3. And in my opinion, it is far and away the more practical Tesla for most people. So thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like. Let me know down in the comments what you think. I'd love to talk about it down in the comments. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to be among the first to see every single new video the second I hit publish. We'll see you in the next one.